afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Jacqueline Donado. I am the Strategic Program Manager at the Queen's Chamber of Commerce, and today we will learn how to create a search-friendly website that drive users and actions and support your goals, whether you are launching a new website or updating an old one. This workshop will help you. And we are very proud to introduce Betia Abdul Razak. She's a professional trainer at Grow with Google. The Queen's Chamber of Commerce, we support the small businesses that they are the backbone of the city, and we are committed to doing all we can to support the welfare of our businesses. At Queen's Chamber, we create connections, we advocate for the business community, and we educate. Um, this webinar is broadcast on Facebook Live, and our colleague Mohamed Amin, he will process all the presentation, and later we will post the video in our Queen's Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel for later reference. Feel free to ask any questions you want on the chat. Petia is going to follow up all the Q&A, and we are looking forward to work with all of you. Let's welcome Petia Abdul Razak.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to be here with you once again. So a little bit more about me. In addition to being a Grow with Google professional trainer, I also own a boutique digital marketing firm here in New York City called the Stylista Group. So I really do enjoy working with small business owners, not only from the training perspective, but also helping them to implement digital strategies that work for their business. In case you're wondering what the Grow with Google program is, Grow with Google is an initiative that helps people prepare for work, find jobs, and grow their business using Google's digital tools. As Jacqueline said, today you're going to learn how to create a website that supports your business. And if you already have a website, no worries. Whether you're launching a new website, doing a revamp, or wondering if the website that you have is actually working for you, everything that we share in this webinar today would be applicable for just about every situation and anyone who wants to learn how to have a website that helps you to achieve your overall business goals. Here's my contact information. A lot of people like to take a snapshot of this slide. Feel free to do so. You can follow me on social media. I'm constantly sharing small business marketing tips. And if after the presentation, if you were a little shy and you didn't get a chance to ask me anything, you can feel free to either email me at my main email address, which is on the slide, or within 24 hours, you usually get an auto-generated well, actually, no, because I didn't set up this landing page. I was saying auto-generated feedback. You can just feel free to email me using this email address, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Okay, so diving into the presentation, we know today that more than ever, small businesses need to have a strong online presence because this is the main way, especially given the last 12 months, where customers are able to make connections, to learn about your businesses, and also it's one of the main drivers of sales. Now, even in non-COVID times, it's important to make sure you update your website with critical information, news, and announcements, and anything that affects the overall operation of your business. So the first step would be to start by reviewing your website to identify products, services, and operations that may currently be affected. Then the next step would be to add information and resources to help your customers to understand these changes. A great idea would be to create a video message or series of video messages that help to explain exactly what's going on with your business. And of course, you should continue to add updates as they are appropriate and when necessary. This has been a time of uncertainty for so many of us, and whatever you can do to assure your customers, whether it's informational or inspirational, will be helpful and appreciated, and also help them to stay connected to you. And of course, as many businesses shift online only as a permanent way of staying in business, it's more important than ever to have a website that actually works for you. So let's start by reviewing web design. When people think of web design, they often think of the overall template, so the look and the feel of their website. So we're talking about the graphics and the layout that appears consistently throughout the website. However, that design is just one component of web design. Within the graphic template, there are lots of common elements that appear on most websites, including the header or top section of the website. And the header usually includes a company logo in the left corner. And most website visitors expect the logo to link back to the homepage. If you guys are wondering why I'm looking up, it's because the screen I'm sharing is right here in front of me. And so you should be familiar with the overall look and feel and the sections of most websites. They usually have a header and of course a footer, which is the bottom section of the website. And the footer usually includes important links like contact information and your copyright information. In terms of the navigation can be displayed two ways. I guess the way that has become the most common way is horizontally across the top of the screen. And the second way that it can be presented is also vertically. All right. And when it's presented vertically, it's usually on the left side of the website. Well, the web design should lay out a set of guidelines that keep all of your web pages consistent with regard to colors, font sizes, styles, and of course, the types of content that will be shared. Some websites are designed and built from scratch. There was a time when that was the only way you can have a website, but the good news is those times are way behind us. And today, many sites use a content management system, often referred to like as CMS, that's the acronym. And I'm referring to platforms such as Shopify, Wix, and WordPress that you guys should be familiar with. Now, almost all of these CMS options include web-based tools to easily build, customize, and update the site. And so even if you make the investment of having someone else build the website for you, you should be able to make simple updates like text changes, swapping out inventory, your product photos, and that sort of thing. You should be able to learn to do that yourself. So of course, there are many options out there and they're all a little different. So if you're just starting out, what I would recommend is that you do an in-depth review of all of the available platforms, do some demos if you like, and then, choose a system that you think you would be comfortable using going forward. Again, whether you're having your website built from scratch or you're going to use a content management system, all of the best practices and principles from today's workshop will still apply to you. Okay, and in terms of Q&A, you guys, I like to stop somewhere in the middle of the presentation and take a look at the Q&A box and the chat box. So don't be shy. Feel free to start adding the questions as they come about, and then I'll stop in the middle, take a look, answer any questions, and then we'll have another opportunity at the end. And if we have enough time, I'd like to kind of like, unshare the slide deck and have us actually have a conversation so that, we can kind of share and speak to each other face to face. So in today's presentation, we're going to look at 6 characteristics of a great website. Remember that a website is not all about design. It should actually help you to move the needle of your business and achieve your business goals. So these are the 6 things we're going to review. A great website is goal-oriented. So the question that you should ask yourself is, how will your website help you to grow your business? It's organized and easy to search. It's useful, and the question to ask yourself here is, does your website provide useful content? It's functional, it's intuitive to use on any device, and last but not least, it's findable by search engines, which is really important. I mean, you can have the best website in the world, but if it's not easily found, then it will not help you to achieve your business goals. So you have to start, the starting point for all of this is to think of the goal of your website. What is the purpose? Why are you putting this website up to be? Now, most of us at this point know that building a website is an important early step. However, word of caution, a website should be a lot more than just being a beautiful online brochure or business card for your business. With some advanced planning, you can create a site that helps your business to grow. But how do you want to grow? For every business, this question can be answered a little differently. And in order to help you figure this out, you need to start by defining goals, very clear goals. So the question to ask yourself is, what do you want your website to do for you? You may need to shift your thinking a little bit and think of your site as a tool that can help you achieve your business goals. So it's not just, again, a beautiful brochure where you put up pretty pictures and maybe some videos, but what can you incorporate into this site to actually help to drive sales, newsletter signups, whatever calls to action that you were thinking about that can help you to increase your brand awareness? These are the questions that you should be asking yourself. So, of course, the goals for everybody's business would depend on the kind of business they have, the stage of business, that sort of thing. But some examples are as follows. And I think all of us at some stage of the game will be able to relate to all of these potential goals for a website. Of course, building your company brand, generating leads, making sales, re engaging customers, attracting employees, and of course, providing easy, accessible customer support. So, once you define your goals, the next thing you need to think about is your target audience. Who are you building this website for? Now, your target audience is very, very important because these people should influence how you build your site to achieve your goals. Remember, you're building the site for them, not for you, which is a mistake that a lot of small business owners make. So the audience impacts everything from the graphic design to the words or the copy on the web pages. Your site should not try to be everything to everyone. You only need to narrow in on your ideal target customer. Now, defining your target audience might sound simple, but it takes some effort. It's relatively easy to define an audience with demographics like gender, age, and employment status. But the problem with that is that if you only stop there, it makes it more difficult for your business to stand out among competitors. And word of caution, stereotypes about your audience can lead to false assumptions. So here are some questions to ask yourself. What makes your audience unique? What specifically are they looking for providers of products and services like you, like yours, I should say? So your goal is to develop a more complete picture of your target audience. For example, you may want to do things like examining specific age ranges rather than one large age range. Now, when I usually ask people, what is the age range of your audience? Very common answer is to say 18 to 65. That is a huge age range. And maybe that is correct, but I think as humans, as we grow up, we can relate to the fact that an 18-year-old, say 18 to 25-year-old, the interests and the way that that person has to be marketed to is very different from the way you would market to the, say, the 35 to the 45-year-old, and definitely should be different from the way that you market to the 45 to the 65-year-old. So you want to take all of those things into consideration. You also want to consider things like location. Is your audience a city audience, a suburban audience, a rural audience? Education level becomes important, types of employment, hobbies and interests, as well as values. How do they view your product or service? Is it a necessity? Is it just nice to have, a special treat? Or is it something that they absolutely can't live without? Right? Once you have defined your audience or audiences, keep all of this in mind as you move forward with the development for your site. But now that you're thinking about your goals and audience, let's add another consideration to the mix. Tracking and measuring success. One of my favorite sayings, if you guys have ever heard me do any marketing presentations, you can guess that I would say, if you're not measuring, you're not marketing. If you don't track and measure your website's performance, you won't have a way of making necessary improvements. And these improvements should be made based on data, cold hard facts. Here's another way to think about it. Let's say you made some modifications to your bicycle. We've all had a bicycle, right? Well, most of us anyway. You wanted the bicycle to go faster. This is something that younger people are usually interested in. Me, at this point, not really interested in being Speedy Gonzales. However, but how would you know that the modifications that you made to make the bike go faster actually worked if you didn't have a really clear idea of how fast the bike went to begin with? So you see where I'm going here? You need to be measuring your before, your during, and your after so that you have a really clear idea of the impact of any changes that you're making to your website, whether they're impacting the goals and objectives negatively or you're going backwards in the opposite direction, which would not be a great thing. So you should always be testing. And there are lots of ways to do this, and some of them are more accurate than others. But you can simply start by asking your customers how they found you to begin with. And you can do this by asking them when they call you on the phone, when they visit your store, if you're open for business, or when you're having email discussions. You can also get more precise by setting up a trackable phone number. And if you advertise with Google, you can set up free call tracking, which records every time your ad results in a phone call. You can also track the number of emails and form submissions from your website. And of course, if you have an e-commerce business, you can track sales. You can use web analytics software like Google Analytics to analyze visitor behavior on your website as well as conversions. So let's move on to talk a little bit about Google Analytics and how it works. So if you're not so sure, I'm sure that a lot of people, you hear people talking about Google Analytics, but you may not be so sure exactly what it is. So Google Analytics is a free tool that can help you to better understand your audience and their activity on your website. Now, this information will help you to make more strategic decisions for your business. When reviewing your Google Analytics data, you will be able to learn which search terms and sources drive the most traffic, which is really very important in terms of your content development. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. See demographic information for your most profitable customers, and also to understand what content your audience is most interested in. You will also be able to evaluate and get a clear idea of which channels drive the most conversions, right? So this is great business intelligence for you to have. So to set up Google Analytics, if you don't already have it installed in your website, you would go to g.co/analytics, and you'll start by either creating a new account or signing into your existing analytics account. Next, you'll need to set up a property in your analytics account if you haven't already done so. And in this case, you're just setting up your website, right? So very simple, you will follow the instructions to add the tracking code to your website so you can begin to collect the data and have these amazing reports at your disposal. If you use a content management system, there may be a place to enter your Google Analytics tracking ID in that content management system. And the easiest way to figure out if this is the case, so when I say content management system, I'm talking about a Shopify or a Wix or a WordPress. Just refer to your CMS's help center and ask, how to add Google Analytics, and they will direct you to where you need to go. Okay, so this is a really great screenshot of one of the reports that you will have access to in the Google Analytics console. Now, there are now two versions of Google Analytics. If you had Google Analytics set up before October of last year, then you have access to the older version of Google Analytics, which is a screenshot that we're seeing. There's a newer version for anybody who's setting up the tool onwards of October 2020. However, all of the tips and best practices in this presentation apply to both versions of Google Analytics. The screenshot that we're seeing right now is a screenshot as it would have looked in the older version. But again, the whole point of having access to these reports, whether it's a newer version or an older version, remains the same. So audience reports provide insight into characteristics of your users, such as their demographics, their interests, geography, language, behavior, and the technology and devices that they're using to access your site. Now, many business owners have preconceived notions about their customers, like age range, gender, interests, etc. Or maybe the preconceived notion extends not to who the customer is or the visitor is, but what they want and what they want to do on the site. The good news is that analytics can provide the data needed for you to truly understand your actual website visitors and to potentially detect a mismatch in your assumptions. As you create or improve your website, you can then use that information to fine-tune the site based on data. Okay? Now that we've talked about goals and tips for choosing a design, let's talk about the information within the website. Remember, the second point is that a great website is well organized. Now, even if you don't have a lot of web pages this very minute, your plan should be to grow your site over time. And so planning on how existing and future content will fit into the framework of your website will set it up for long-time success. You need to start with a plan, also referred to as an information architecture plan. Now, information architecture, or IA as it's referred to, sounds technical, but you don't need to be a website designer or a programmer or an architect to create one. Simply put, it's a plan to organize information on your website. So the information architecture maps out the sections, pages, and functionality of your site. There are several pages and sections that can be found on most websites, and they usually include the home page, an About Us section, and a contact page. And depending on the type of business you have, you will probably include a products or service section as well. But how do you really organize all of that information? The best way is to review, take a step back, and review your business goals. Now, earlier in the workshop, I gave you some ideas of what those goals may be. And as you proceed through the process of building your website, you should always have those at the back of your mind. So taking a look at this example on the screen, this example business sells jewelry. And you can see that their products are organized into categories. So they have the main products page, and then they have semi-categories for their rings, watches, and necklaces. So think about how you can categorize and organize your website as it pertains to your business and the kind of business that you have. The important thing is that visually, the architecture or layout of the site should be easy to follow, right? So having the products listed under the products makes total sense. Here are a few tips to get you started. When you're choosing names and labels for parts of your site, keep them short and descriptive. And as you create your website design, remember to keep the most important information in the main navigation. Now, of course, that information will depend on your business and your business goals, but the plan can help you to create or select the most appropriate website design and templates. To get started, as a review, define your target audience, and you would have already done this. And think about if you have any new or creative ideas that you can come up with to get them to be drawn into your site once they visit. Some questions to ask yourself would be, what do you want people to take away from the site? Better yet, if you can, ask your best customers for advice on this. What do they want to take away when they visit your site? Or since your most loyal customers also tend to be your top referrers, just help them to help you, right? So designing a website that gives helpful information also is great for customer referrals, because it's very easy for someone to say, I love this business, the website is great, here's the link, check it out, right? So it's also helping your customers to be able to refer you, because all of the information that a potential customer would be looking for are on the website. Next, you need to make a list of keywords related to your business and think if you can incorporate them into your navigation or organization. Use lists to keep site content, colors, imagery, and everything that you're going to put on the site, all of the assets consistent with your goals. And also make a list of information and features that you have today and features that you may want to add as you go along and your business grows. Okay. Again, another screenshot from the Google Analytics console, and this was pre-October 2020. So if you're setting up the analytics today, like if you did it after this workshop, the look and feel of the dashboard will be different. So a few slides ago, I introduced Google Analytics to you. Here's another available report, the Behavior Flow Report. The Behavior Flow Report reports visualize or help you to visualize by putting it in diagram form. The path that users take as they travel from one page to the next on your website. And it helps you to discover what content keeps users engaged with your site, and it also helps you to identify content issues. Understanding the visitor path can help you organize your website in a way that supports your overall business goals. All right, so before we move on to the next point, I think there's something going on in the Q&A box. So I'm just going to take a quick peek and see if there's a quick question um, that can be answered. So Seth is asking, is there a difference in website design, I guess, when the product is a service rather than physical sales? Absolutely. For starters, um, you you will not have the ability to include a well as a robust product catalog. I don't want to say you can't include a product catalog, because especially with COVID, there are a lot of service-based businesses who actually set up e-commerce like websites where people could, download packets or hire them for consultations, and they were collecting payment online. But you would have the benefit of having as robust sort of product catalog and driving sales that way compared to a business that has physical products. However, the techniques in terms of making sure that the website is easily navigatable should be the same. You should be focusing a lot on lead generation, so driving traffic for people to sign up to your newsletters, um, possibly even to book consultations. I guess the key here is that in terms of functionality, before you even get into that, you need to determine what the goals are for the website. So while a product-based business, one of one of the main goals would be for them to drive sales to their product catalog. For a service-based business, maybe you're interested in building your email list so that you can continue to market to the people who visit your website with really strong email campaigns. And that is why you start off by determining, um, what what the goals and objectives of your website should be. Next question. How long do you have to wait to gather data on Google Analytics before you have meaningful analytics? I personally like to wait at least 30 days, especially if I am trying new things or adding new things or the website is just recently launched, just to kind of like have like at least a month's worth of activity that I can then use as a baseline as I move forward. Great question, Seth. Thank you very much. And now, anonymous attendee, do you have tips for choosing a CMS? I personally prefer, since I work with a lot of um, e-commerce businesses, my favorite CMS is Shopify, just because it's easily integratable with just about everything, social media wise, as well as Google Merchant Center. It's a very third party friendly platform. WordPress is great as well. Some people prefer Wix. I would say my two top choices would be Shopify or WordPress. Okay, great questions. Let's keep going. There'll be another opportunity for discussion at the end. So we've talked about goals and organization. The next thing you need to consider is creating relevant content and experiences. And this content and experiences should be easily accessible and enjoyed no matter what device your visitors are using. Still to this day, for whatever reason, there's still people who don't have websites that are mobile friendly, which is a huge mistake. Talking about mobile. So did you know that more than 50% of all web traffic is now coming from smartphones and tablets? 50, more than 50%. Consumers expect to be able to use their website, your website, on their phones, and they expect it to be easy to do. In fact, 46% of people say they would not purchase from a brand again if they had an interruptive mobile experience. What this means for you is that making your website work on a mobile device is no longer an afterthought or something that you have should be second guessing. It should be your top priority. Now, the good news is that more and more websites are being built from the start with technology that automatically optimizes the website to be mobile friendly and responsive. So you really don't have to worry about this anymore. So this responsive web design adjusts the site's appearance to best present the information on the site based on the size of screen and type of device that the visitor is viewing the website on. And again, unless you've had your website for 30 years, you really should not have to worry about this happening, because I would say most websites built within the last 10 years or so, they were already taking this into consideration. Okay. So, if you have a relatively newish website, this should already be happening. So let's talk about what useful information means in terms of website content. When you hear the term content, the first thing all of us think about is text, like a book, right? Content, written text. And that's one type of content. But in the world of the web, it also includes images, videos, downloads, and any special tools that would be helpful to your target audience. So, for example, if your products are visual, you might want to add a photo or a gallery section. If your products need to be set up, you may want to include some how-to videos. And in terms of special tools, if your business delivers, say, mulch to residential customers, you would want to do something like create a really cool mulch calculator to help them to estimate how much they need based on square footage or whatever, and then order the right amount. So this is you being helpful for your customers. Now think about your business. What kind of content would be useful for your customers? And how would this content support your business goals? Whenever possible, create original, unique content, and this can help you to set yourself apart from the competition. One more thing to consider or to keep in mind as you create and publish content on your website. Consider how customers might search on Google to find content. And be sure to include those words and phrases in your content to help Google and other search engines to find and index it. Now, what happens is that as business owners or experts or whatever you want to call those of us who decide we want to set up businesses, right? Because we are familiar with whatever industry jargon we use, or words that are familiar to those of us in the industry, we usually write our website copy with using those descriptions or those phrases, but those descriptions and phrases usually have very little to do with how your customers are searching for your products and services. Okay, so they may not know technical terms and industry jargon. They may look for your business expressing the need that needs to be fixed, you know um, or just a general name for a product or service. So you have to make sure that you're not filling your website with a bunch of technical terms that nobody but yourself or the people that in your industry will understand. You really have to write it in the words of your potential customer. So how do you figure this out? How do you know what people are searching for? Google Trends is here to help. Now, Google Trends is a free tool that you can use to understand the relative popularity of keywords over time. So the example that we're looking at together is an example of a comparison that a yoga studio is doing. And so they are looking to compare the usage of the terms Bikram yoga compared to just the term yoga. And they may also want to proceed and look at and also compare things like vinyasa, right, as one of the options that somebody may be looking for, restorative, flow, or hot, because again, customers don't always use the correct words or the technical terms for what they're looking for, right? So the key here is to also keep it as simple as possible. So using Google Trends, the yoga studio can compare the keyword popularity of the terms that they're thinking that their customers are using to find them, right? And figure out the ones that are being the most commonly used and making sure that they incorporate those terms into their content. So to use Google Trends, you would go to g.co/trends, enter the keywords or phrases that you would like to compare, narrow the results by location by either selecting state or region, and you can adjust the date range. So specifically, you can look for the popularity of the terms within the past 12 months, 6 months, 3 months, whatever you're looking for. Then you will simply view the results. And the great thing about it is that you will also be able to see related queries that allow you to get new ideas for new terms that you should be considering as well. So let's move on to another aspect of a great website, and that will be the website functionality. What does functionality really mean in this context, all right? It refers to the parts of your website that allow visitors to take actions. And every website, whether it just be a product website or a service website, should have some form of functionality. So if you're making a list of all the possible functionality on your site, you may want to also include these: a site search, a contact form, an online shopping cart or checkout system, or if applicable, some sort of custom design tool that can help your customers to interact with you, or maybe to even purchase online or to give them the information that they're looking for. Again, as with everything else, functionality should support your business goals. So let's look at two different scenarios. In scenario one, you run a shoe repair business and people either call or stop by to get quotes on their repairs. In terms of functionality, you could create an online form for customers to submit their information, as well as a picture of their needed repair so that they can get the most accurate post possible online before they visit the store. In scenario two, You run a cafe and you answer a set of the same questions on the phone every single day. How can you use the website to alleviate this? Here goes. You can create a simple web page that houses all of your frequently asked questions to help your customers to get the answers to those questions without having to directly contact you. Word of caution, don't add functionality for the sake of having it. It should always have a great purpose. Your key here is to add functionality that will actually help your customers. Remember, today's customers typically want to minimize the amount of time spent performing tasks on your website. Avoid things like interruptions and too many pop-ups when visitors land on your website. Do not embed videos that will autoplay with sound when visitors land on your website. And remember not to trade user experience for beautiful design. So we've covered some big picture topics, including goals, organization, functionality. Now let's take a look at how easy it is to navigate your site. This section is focused on design, but not how pretty the site looks, how intuitive it is. In other words, does your site design naturally lead a visitor through the process of the site? Does it get them through the marketing funnel the way that you intended to? Okay? Here are a few questions to ask yourself. Can visitors use your site without struggling or even thinking really hard to accomplish tasks? A design that's easy to use can have significant impact on whether your site supports your business goals. So let's move on and take a look at a few things to consider when building a great experience for website visitors. Firstly, the navigation. Make it very easy to get around your site. You can do this by doing the following things. Highlighting elements that are selected, for example, when choosing options in an e-commerce store. Designing your site to allow plenty of space for users to tap. And again, this is honing on the mobile device usage. And make sure that your site includes a call to action. And if there's a call to action, it needs to be tappable to take visitors exactly where they need to go. Next, we want to make it easy for customers to shop if you have that kind of business. So not only shop one time, but continue shopping and also return to an earlier page if they become distracted. Notice that in this example that we're viewing together, there's a helpful add it to cart button to allow customers to continue to shop. Okay, so it's not only about what they have already checked out, maybe they're considering something else, but you can also do add it to cart. And here you can go back and do a review of the items that are already there. Another tip is to recommend similar products throughout the shopping experience to make it easy for them to find what they need, including things that they may not necessarily need, but they want. I am not ashamed to say that I'm a victim to this all the time. I go onto a website and I say, okay, I'm going to be buying XYZ. And then the next thing you know, I'm getting all of these recommendations of additional things that other people have bought. Customers like you also liked. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. And the next thing you know, I went to this website to buy 4 things, and now there are 15 things in my cart that I had no original intention of buying, but I usually end up buying it because whoever has designed the site has done an amazing job of telling me all of this extra stuff that I need. Tip number 3, make it easy for visitors to check out and pay on mobile devices. Now, how many of you have had the unpleasant experience of visiting a site and trying to check out, like you actually make it to the checkout point, and then all of a sudden there's an issue with your credit card number, you can't update the order details. Usually, the minute that starts happening, I'm gone. I move on to something else, and I rarely ever go back. So a difficult checkout process can have a major impact on a website's conversion rate. So here are some things you can do to make it easier. Reduce the number of steps in the checkout process. show visitors progress as they move throughout the checkout process. And this lets them know exactly what they have done and what else they need to do to complete the process. Use guest checkouts so visitors don't have to create an account before they check out. However, you definitely want to give them the ability or the option to do it afterwards. And lastly, be sure to enable digital wallets such as Google Play or Apple Pay to make payments easier. Know that mobile is very important, it's a good idea to be sure that your website is compatible on all devices. So Google's Chrome Inspector tool found within Google Chrome, right, the web browser, helps you to test your website's compatibility from all different devices. And this is how it does it. You can use Google Chrome Inspector to navigate to your site in a Chrome browser. So you have to open Chrome and then go to your website. Right-click anywhere on the web page and from the pop-up window, select Inspect. On the right-hand toolbar, select the icon labeled Toggle Device Toolbar. This will display a drop-down menu above your website labeled Responsive, and this is what we're seeing here in the screenshot. From there, you can use the drop-down menu to view how your website appears on many different devices. So as we can see here, you can see how it looks on iPad Pro, Galaxy, all the different devices that someone may be viewing your site from. Last but not least, a great website is search friendly. If the website cannot be found, you're just wasting your time. So at this point, you would have invested lots of resources, even if you built the website yourself. Build in a business website. So you want to be sure that people can find the website when they search online. The process of helping a website increase its visibility on search engines is called search engine optimization, or SEO. Now, to be quite honest, SEO could merit its own presentation, but in the next couple of minutes, I will give you some tips to get your site off to a relatively good start. So being findable in the Google search results is critical for a business website that depends on visitors' traffic. Most people use search engines first when they're looking for answers. And again, that's true for 75% of smartphone users. So the image that we're looking at, we should all be familiar with. This is the Google search page. But just so that you get a clearer understanding for what you see, because when we're looking for things, we're not really looking around and understanding the search page. We just want to get information. Let me break down the sections for you. So at the top, where you type in the question or the keywords, whatever you're looking for, this is called a search query. Below the search query, this entire area would be your search result. This is what comes up. At the top of the search results, the ads that are being paid for are usually displayed. So anything way at the top of the page are usually ads, okay? So Stasia's Bakery, we have some text ads here. And then at the top here, we see some, you may also see some shopping ads that show up above that. And then everything below the ads, and the way you know that something is an ad is that it usually says ad at the top here, or sponsored. That's how you know if it's an ad. Below this paid content is the organic results, and this is where websites that are optimized usually show up, right? So SEO, you cannot pay for SEO, right? You can pay for ads. And the good thing is that because you're paying for ads, it does not impact or guarantee that the actual website will show up in the center well of the page, which is where the organic results show up. Okay. So Google's algorithm identifies organic results and the most relevant and useful matches for the search. Clicks on links in the organic results section are free, of course. And it's important to note, like I said, that Google, you cannot pay Google to be shown in these results. On the right sidebar, you will see a business profile on Google and a location. Businesses with a storefront or service can or that provide a service that customer where they meet their customers within a geographical area or customers come to them can create a free business profile using a tool called Google My Business. And having a business profile allows your business to show up in search results and on maps in Google. So now that you understand the elements of a search results page, it might be helpful to understand how Google decides what information to display and how search actually works. So here goes. Imagine that the web is a book with trillions of pages. Google's job is to read every single page of the book, categorize the pages, and help searchers find the information from within these pages. Sounds easy, right? For a bot, it is. For us, not so much. To read the pages, Google uses software called a web crawler or spider. As new pages are found, they are added to Google's index. When people search, results that are shown on that Google page are pulled from this huge index. And to find the most relevant results, Google's algorithm uses over 200 signals. Now, examples of signals include the freshness of the content on the website, the number of other websites linking to a particular site and the authority of those links, and the quality of the content on the site. Of course, there are things such as the URL and page title, and whether the best result for what the searcher is looking for is a web page or an image or a video or a news article. Websites that want to improve their chances of appearing or appearing to begin with or appearing higher in Google search results use search engine optimization, also known as SEO. And you can hire someone to do this for you. I will be honest in saying that on behalf of my fellow digital marketers, I myself in my agency, I use partner agencies to do SEO for me for my clients. We tend to focus more on email marketing and social media. But I know a pet peeve for all of us digital marketers, but especially for SEO people, is that this is not an overnight success thing, right? So if you hire someone to do your SEO, don't expect to be on the first page of Google within a week. This is more of a situation of a long haul situation, 6 months or more, before you actually start to see the results working in a way where you're becoming ranked higher and higher in Google. And the reason for this is because it's just competitive, right? There are other companies out there who have been doing this for years. And of course, because they have their relevance of the content, the kinds of content that they have, the freshness of their site, maybe they know they need to constantly keep updating their site, they will be ahead of you. So you can hire someone to help you, or you can try to do it yourself. If you're going to do this yourself, here are some tips for helping your website appear in search results. Optimize for load time. I've said it almost every other slide in this presentation. Mobile devices are the main ways that everyone is accessing the web these days. So you can test your site's mobile speed by visiting g.co/testmysite. The tool will generate a free report that outlines areas on your site that can be improved. Make sure to always share original content that's useful, information-rich, clear, and accurate. And be sure to include the keywords or phrases that users would be typing when they're trying to find similar products and services like yourself. And I shared earlier how you can do that by using Google Trends. Okay, so for links, especially in the navigation, use text when possible. And if it is an image, make sure that you include a description on the image. And just about every content management system will prompt you to do this. Instead of just posting an image, they will ask you to describe the image, because the Google bot needs to actually read the text to understand what's going on. And that's the way they can see. Okay. Also, adding internal links will help your website visitors find additional areas in your website. Okay. So your website should include descriptive page titles and accurate page descriptions, and this should be different for every single page of your website. Now, many content management systems include areas where you can add them for each page. Remember information architecture? We spoke about that way down in the presentation. Information architecture helps both your human visitors as well as Google to interpret the content of your website. And remember to design your website to be compatible for all browsers, devices, device types, and sizes, including desktops, tablets, and smartphones. Another tool from Google that can help you monitor, maintain, and troubleshoot your site's presence or the look and feel, how your site comes up in Google search, is Google Search Console. So Search Console is free again, and it measures your website search traffic and performance. It helps you to fix issues and help your site look its best in Google's search result. Now, Google Search Console is usually used by webmasters. If you hire somebody to help you to optimize your site, they would be the ones most likely using Search Console. But as the business owner, it's still helpful for you to understand exactly how the tool is used. So, if you hire someone to help you with SEO, again, they will be most likely be the ones using the tools and the things that you can expect to get, or the reports. If they share it with you, you will be able to see. You'll be able to have access to things like email alerts when Google encounters issues, and it also gives you feedback as to how you can the changes that you can make in order for you to show up in your best, looking your best on Google. Okay. So to sign up for Search Console, you can start by visiting g.co/Search Console. You will need to add a website property, and website property is really just the website address. So you can either say hi. You can either add the entire website or you can add specific parts of the website. So a lot of people are usually interested in like maybe the e-commerce part. I would recommend adding the entire website, but you can choose to add either the entire website or a subsection of the website. Once verification is complete, your account will be ready and it will start collecting data for your reports. Okay. Now, you can, by all means, if you're going to do this, visit the help center and get as much information as possible about how this works. And what will happen is that you will receive an email if any unusual events occur with your website. And so what those events may be anything from hacking to, detection of whether the content in your site violates Google search quality guidelines, and of course, any sort of like dips in your traffic or increase in errors. Search Console will keep you up to date with everything that is going on. So here's a quick look inside of Search Console. These are all the various reports that you have access to, but the three ones that we like to highlight would be the performance report, the URL inspector, and of course, the mobile usability report. Very, very important to have highlighted throughout the entire presentation. Finally, you should think about your website not as your total online presence, right? It's a piece of your online sort of puzzle. You have many ways, as you know, to connect with your audience online. Sometimes you quote unquote meet your customers in other ways, like your Google Ads or your YouTube channel. The key here is to be sure to connect all of your online presences to help customers or your potential customers to interact with your brand in as many ways as possible. So, next steps. We have covered so much in this short time together. Let's talk about what you should do next. Start by making a list of business goals that you want to support with your website. If you're building a new site, choose a design that works on all browsers and devices. And if you've had your site for a while, check to see how it performs on all devices, especially mobile. Thirdly, create or recreate a plan for your content, your website's information architecture, and remember that clear organization will help human visitors and search engines to navigate your website more easily. Once you have your plan, start adding content. And of course, the more often you can publish useful original content, the better your site will perform. Think about how your website can offer functionality that supports your business goals and helps your customers at the same time. And last but not least, make sure that your website is search engine friendly, because at the end of the day, if search engines can't find your website, potential customers will have a difficult time finding you. Okay, and lastly, some additional resources that you can access to continue this learning on your own. Check out Primer, available on both Android and Apple devices. You can download them on your phone. And they are lessons on business and marketing that are less than 5 minutes each. Also, Google's quick help videos for small businesses do an amazing job of giving you quick tips on how you can use many of Google's tools. You can get quick instructions on how to create a YouTube channel, how to get your business listed on Google Search and Maps. And in addition to attending workshops like these, you can also check out the Grow on Air workshops that are given at no charge by the Google corporate team. And to access the schedule, you would just go to g.co/grow on air. As a quick recap, Grow with Google is a new initiative to help people prepare for work, find jobs, and grow their businesses. And that's the official end of the presentation. I will be more than happy to take a few questions before I let a few more questions before I let you guys get back to the rest of your day. And so I'm just going to go in the Q&A box and see, I
Yes.
think one more question popped up. Okay, Seth is asking some question of what information a potential client is willing to submit on a website. In info, you mean? Okay. I think what Seth is trying to ask is, it's asking for too much information on a website can work against you, right? You should keep it to no more than, I say, 4 to 5, and that's even pushing it, questions max. And make sure that you're asking for information that will actually help you to get to know the customer better. Okay, so I think the question here is how much should you be asking in terms of, because the question he asked me before was if you were a service-based business, how do you can't sell products online. And so I was asking, I told him he should be capturing data. And so the data that you should be capturing, of course, names, that's obvious, definitely email address, but maybe depending on the services that you're offering, have them select which service that they're actually interested in hearing about from you, so that then you can continue to market to them based on their interests. Can we get a copy of the presentation? I will be sending a copy of the presentation to the Queen's Chamber, and they will be sending it to you as part of their follow-up efforts. So the answer is yes.
Yes, thank you, Patia. Of course, we will share the information. We will share the YouTube channel, the whole presentation, plus the PowerPoint presentation. Everybody who is, all the participants on this program are already registered, and then we have their information, and we will follow up with them. Uh, One of the questions that we always have, Patia, is
Mm-hmm.
the website is like you have in a store, but you need to bring people to your store. You need to bring traffic to the store, and that is where we need your magic.
Right. So one way you can do that is by using search engine optimization, because most people go to Google to find what they're looking for. And so if your website has the keywords that your customers are searching for, and if it's organized and updated always with them in mind, not you, then that's one way that your website can be found. And then of course there's advertising, right? You can run very targeted ad campaigns on Google, using other social media platforms to drive traffic directly to your website. So there are two ways. The organic way would be using search engine optimization and making sure that your site actually has the key terms that are being searched for in that search query bar that we were talking about, so that you come up, you are found organically, and then, of course, advertising as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Bettia. It has been a great presentation. We love all your knowledge and all your enthusiasm to share your all the documentations, all the information that we have for grow with Google and grow with all uh, the tools that we have in this moment in age.
Yes, yes, there's a lot. There's a lot that can be done. It's just taking the time to learn them, right? So
Exactly.
that's
We really appreciated once again your presentation, and we invite all the participants and followers on Facebook Live for your new presentation, your upcoming presentation, and about YouTube, how to
yes,
master YouTube.
YouTube as well, exactly. And remember that all of these tools work together, right? They're a piece of the online marketing puzzle. So once you understand how to master them, they work together, and it does take time. It's not an overnight success thing, but once they're working together, they actually do help to move the business forward. Okay, so that is it for me for today, Jacqueline. It was nice seeing you
Thank
and
you.
always, and I'm looking forward to the next presentation.